What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nutrition Tips with Tyson the Trainer. Now, in today's video, podcast, whether you're watching or listening, we're going to be talking about more freedom, creating better results. Now, I've touched on this in a fair few different areas on the different podcast episodes. And I was going to talk about something else today, but this just came to my mind because a lot of check-ins this week. As you're listening to this, it's going to be a little bit further along, but this is just after the Easter long weekend. And the feedback I got from clients, a lot of them have been able to enjoy their Easter, just made me so fucking happy to hear. And I'm like, this is really what I want to talk about. Because firstly, just before Easter, I forgot I was actually on another coach's email list. And this coach is like, how to stick to your macros over Easter. And he talks about calorie banking, right? Saving some calories during the week because then you can have some more on the weekend so you can enjoy that chocolate and so you're still within your calories and your macros. And I was like reading this and I'm like, is this guy fucking serious? It's just so funny that these people out there who are teaching these coaches, I should say, teaching normal people out there that if you still want to stick to your deficit over Easter, then you have to be doing this and this. And it's like, well, hang on. Normal people just fucking enjoy Easter. Think about how many of your friends or family members or anyone is like, oh, I can't wait for, when I say friends or family, normal people, let's say, I can't wait for Easter. I've been calorie deficiting all week for this, I've been calorie banking all week. No, none of your family or friends have said that. I very much assume they have not, unless again they're into this whole, neuroticism, health and fitness side of things. None of them do. But what do? Do they all enjoy Easter? Yes. Do they all indulge a little bit? Yes. Do you see them? Oh, gotta start shredding now. Oh, ruin my calorie deficit. No, they just fucking normal people just indulge a little bit and then get back on track. Well, not even get back on track. They just go back to living normally. Funnily enough, they don't binge eat the chocolate either, like most people do when they're trying to get healthier or fitter or have a bit of a food relationship issue. Watch what they do. Yeah, they do indulge a little bit, but they aren't fucking scoffing down, stuffing themselves to the brim that some of you are listening to, including myself, have done, where you're in so much pain that you've eaten too much food. And somehow you're still trying to shove more food down your throat, even though you're stuffed and you feel sick. Why? Why do we do that when normal people can just indulge and then just get back, to being normal people, right? Now, again, we don't want to take all this stuff that normal people do because not all of it's healthy, right? However, there are things we can learn from them. And one of them is that when events come up, you do get to enjoy yourself a little bit without fucking stuffing yourself or calorie banking or any of those things and just making it a normal part of life. Because guess what? Here's the thing. I don't know if you understand this. I don't know how long you've been alive for. I assume all of you listening to this are over the age of 20. I assume you've been through 20 Christmases, 20 birthdays, 20 Easters, Every fucking year these things come along. They're not going anywhere. I hope not, right? So it's is every year going to be you experiencing the same thing every time, freaking out about it, not being able to enjoy it, overeating, feeling like shit afterwards, thinking you've ruined all your progress, or going into it stressing again, trying to calorie deficit or trying to calorie bank or doing all these things for these events? Do you want to do that every fucking year? And it's funny because you're doing that, but again, normal people aren't. Blows you away. Look at everyone who sits in your office or whatever it is. Ask them, oi, how many of you are you scared about Easter too? Are you scared to go over your calories? Most people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not normal to be stressing over these things. Now, of course, with this awareness, it is, having nutritional awareness is a good thing, but it can also lead down to a very neurotic side of things, which we don't want to be going towards, all right? And again, it's funny because the client, a lot of people who have had food issues, clients of mine, and they've messaged me this weekend how they were able to enjoy it, how they were actually able to control themselves this Easter. One client said, I can't believe I've never binged on Easter. She's like, I've never done this before. And she's 32, I think. Imagine that, getting to 32 and that's your first time you've actually never binged during Easter. I was like, fuck, this is fantastic. And you know what's funny? It's because I gave her and my other clients permission to enjoy themselves. And weirdly enough, when you have permission, when you have that freedom, you now have choice. And when you weirdly have choice and control, which I've talked about, I think it was last episode, maybe a few episodes ago, the word you use, when you're in control, you'll make way better choices. When you feel in control, I should say. There's a difference between I can't and I'm not allowed versus I choose not to or I don't feel like it, you know? There's a big difference between those things. And funnily enough, when you remind yourself that you're in power, you're making the choice, no one's holding the gun to your head to deficit, all these type of things, it just puts you in a different position and sets you up in a really, really good headspace, right? And so I want you guys to start thinking about this when it comes to just your overall health and fitness. And it's like, you know, this whole good enough thing that I talk about. I really, really want you to start focusing on being less obsessive, because there's a very big catch-22 here when it comes to being educated with your nutrition. When you're educated, it kind of fucks you up a little bit, unfortunately. Now, ignorance is not bliss when it comes to nutrition. You should know, I know there's no good or bad foods, but you kind of should know, you know, calorie-dense foods, why saturated fats are bad, you know, what a good day of eating looks like, all these things. You should know that to a degree, all right? Like, just to know, to understand your health. However, it becomes a very big head fuck when people start to learn about calories and macros and thinking these things are so important for their goals, and we look at things in absolutes, and it's a very, very slippery slope, you know? When I say looking at things in absolutes, again, let's say people do indulge over Easter. I indulged over Easter, fucking oath. I don't know if you guys saw what I was posting up, the foods that I got. They were fantastic, fucking delicious. But what did I do? I spread it out. It was 4 days. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I enjoyed myself every day because I wanted to have something every day versus just, oh, well, I'm going to wait all till Sunday. I'm going to eat all the chocolate. I'm going to make sure it's finished so it's out of the house so there's no temptation. That way I can start again fresh Tuesday and I'm going to be in a good place. Like, that within itself is, you've already fucking put yourself in a bad mentality, you know? I've got to get it all out of the house. I've got to have it all today. I can't keep any of this. I'm going to save it all until this one day. You're basically setting yourself up for a binge, technically, you know? Where it's like, you ate those same amount of calories over 4 days. While that was the same amount of calories, it's a different mindset. You showed yourself you could have a little bit of food every day. You didn't binge eat anything. You maybe indulged a little bit, but you didn't stuff yourself to the point of fullness. You got to enjoy the food instead of fucking shovel it all in your gob. You felt okay on Tuesday versus feeling sick because of the amount of food you ate the day before, and you're in a better headspace, right? These things are important for long-term just mental clarity, right? And like, you know, this good enough principle is what we want to go for, is like just having less rules and rigidity on yourself. Because again, once you know about calories and macros and stuff, it's like based on the people you're following, the more you put that as a higher importance, the harder, the more likely you are to kind of fall off track in a way. Because now you're thinking all these things really matter and it's make or break, you know? People don't explain to you that it's like, you don't have to worry as much about macros. People don't explain to you that 1 day won't undo all your hard work, or 3 days won't undo your hard work, or fucking, God forbid, a week of you not being able to train because you're sick has undone all your hard work. We think so much in absolutes, and it's like, you go to the gym for a week, you're gonna fucking look amazing? No. You eat well for a week, are you gonna look amazing? No. So then why the fuck do you think that if you do the opposite for a week of maybe eating a little bit off, around Christmas time, let's say, or you have a week off training, what makes you think you're gonna lose everything? If that was the case, we would be absolutely fucking dead. Like, imagine that. Like, a week, you're injured. Oh, I can't do anything for a week. I'm gonna go backwards. So it's like, back in our, primal days, let's say, you injured yourself. Now, you're probably actually going to die if you're injured, to be honest. You break a leg, there's no there's no doctors and stuff around. But let's say you're just a little bit sick and you're laying down. And you're like, oh man, fuck, it's been a week of me being sick and laying down here. Well, I don't have any gains to start with, so I guess I'm just going to go to skin and bones. And then you die. You're like, no, like, the body is quite fucking resilient. You know? You're not just going to lose everything that quickly. Especially if it takes time to gain. Like, we have to give ourselves a little bit more credit and our body a little bit more credit. We can endure some shit, to be honest. And so, you know, having that mentality where it all, like, 1 day or 1 week isn't going to fucking change anything, all right? Get that through your head and start to look at things as, again, this whole good enough is like averages for everything, basically. Like averages, things are going to even out because we cannot be perfect. We cannot be 100%. We're never going to be 100%. So what's the point in trying to focus on every fucking day being 100%, every week being 100%, every meal being 100%, all these things that you literally cannot control to be 100% anyways. Yet you think these little things do add up and they don't, right? So what I want you to do is start to give less attention to this stuff. Because funnily enough, when you have less attention to these things, you will actually most likely, very highly likely I should say, increase your adherence. Especially if you are someone who is a type A, neurotic, overthinker, wants control of everything, always wants things to be perfect, gets scared when things are out of routine, gets scared when things are out of their control. If you're that type of person, you know, you're anxious, stuff like that, which was me, still kind of is me to be honest, especially in certain situations where I have to learn, not with food, but just with life. I like my routine and shit like that. If you're one of those people, then reducing your sense of control and allowing more freedom will actually fucking set you up for so much more success. Because it's a very, 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 it's a very line you teeter on, a very fine line you teeter on. Like when I learned about macros and calories, I was the people I talk about, it was me. Every fucking gram. Not 62 grams of rice, has to be 60 grams of rice. Not, if I pour olive oil on my food, or not my food, I should say, when it's on the, on the pan, I would like measure it in the cap and make sure it was 10 mil, not 11 mil, not 13 mil, fuck God forbid, it had to be 10 mil. And like that level of obsessiveness caused me stress because I thought all these little things mattered when they fucking didn't. Like, okay, there's a difference. 10 mil of olive oil versus 20 mil of olive oil, that's a fair bit of calories right there, right? I'm pretty sure it's like 160 calorie difference. But if it's like 2 mil, then fuck me dead. If it's 62 grams of rice versus 60, like I was someone that actually had to learn to be less rigid. And funnily enough, when I was less rigid, I improved my relationship with food because I got to show myself that probably more than half the shit that I was focusing on a daily basis didn't fucking matter, Oh, I had to do this at this time. I had to eat exactly 3 hours apart. And then I'd like look at my clock and I'd be like, oh fuck man, I've got a client and this is going to go like till 3:15 instead of 3 o'clock. And then that means that I'm going to be half an hour after my 3-hour meal that I'm supposed to be having. Like I would be in my head stressing about this dumb as fuck shit because I thought it mattered. And guess what? It would cause me to binge. It would cause me to overeat. It would cause me to fall off track because I was aiming for perfection and that was causing me more stress. I think I had to do all these little things in order to get results when I did not. So this is what I want to emphasize to you guys today, okay? Really learn to give yourself, you want to have structure, but we only need to focus on the structure. We don't need the rigidity. So with this being said, like what is that kind of structure you want to focus on every day? Let's go back over this good enough stuff. Firstly is a calorie range, okay? Based on whether you're in maintenance, based on whether you're in a deficit, based on whether you're in a surplus, okay? Never think that whatever calculation you do, whether it be my calculator or anything else, is your calorie range, okay? Give yourself like, 2,322 calories is what I'm gonna have. Like as if you, like, fuck man, we're not an exact math equation. You're not gonna burn the exact same amount of calories every day. You sleep in for 10 minutes extra and you do, let's say 200 steps less, that's different calorie burn overall, You're on a day where you're exercising where it's hotter and your heart rate is higher, you're gonna burn more calories. You're walking down the street and your heart rate is higher because you're on a slight incline. Heart rate is, you're living in a different part of the world. You're fucking, today you're chasing after your kid all day because he's going crazy versus tomorrow he's sitting around. You are not going to be 100% with knowing what your calorie burn is. So please do not get stuck in this one fucking number of like the exact amount, all right? If you're at maintenance, ideally you don't want to be tracking your calories at all. That's what you want to get to at maintenance, not tracking. Because like you just want to be able to eat food and maintain your weight, and you should know how that looks basically by educating yourself about knowing what's in calories first and foremost, so you know that what's in food, the calories in food. But secondly, like once you start to practice that with the tracking side of things, you should be able to quite easily look at food and roughly guesstimate what's in food, okay? If you haven't done that, go and start, when you are weighing your food, start guesstimating. Before you put on a tablespoon of peanut butter, guess, all right, this is about 25 grams. Is it 25 grams? Weigh it out. What was I doing the other day? I was teaching clients about Weet-Bix bites, and I was like, oh, this looks like about 45 grams, and it was like 85 grams. I was like, fuck, man, I've been having like a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm in maintenance. My weight's been sitting the way it is. So it's like, well, even though I was underestimating that, my weight's still been quite stable. So that's fine. That's just a learning lesson for me. But learn to guesstimate stuff, because when you're within ranges, that's all that matters in maintenance. You don't have to be fucking perfect at 2100 calories every day if that's your maintenance. Some days might be 22 or 23. Other days might be 1900. It's going to average out. All right. So do not aim for perfection with your numbers. The same thing when you are in a calorie deficit. I've changed my perspective on what I told clients and what I tell clients, when it comes to a calorie deficit. I cannot remember if I've covered this in another podcast, but I want to cover it here. No longer set yourself a calorie deficit of one number. Dumb way to do it. What's a better way to do it? Give yourself a calorie range. Basically, give yourself all the way up to 1% of your body weight loss a week, because that's the maximum we can lose, okay? So if you're 660 kilos, you can lose 600 grams. If you're 80 kilos, you can lose 800 grams. If you're 100 kilos, you can lose a kilo a week. This way, you've basically got from a 300 calorie deficit, let's say 200, 250, all the way up to whatever it's going to be. So just to remind you guys how to figure out your calorie, or how many calorie deficits are going to relate to weight loss. So for every 200 calorie deficit you're in a day, you're going to lose about, what would be the equivalent of that? Now I'm trying to remember. It's going to be about 190-ish grams on the scale. 300 calorie deficit is 270 grams. 400 calorie deficit is going to be 360 grams. 500 calorie deficit is going to be about 450 grams. 600 calorie deficit, 540 grams. It's your 9 times tables basically, all right? So a 500 calorie deficit a day is 3,500 calories a week, is about 450 grams. Now again, it's not exact math, right? Let's just remember that. But let's say you're 90 kilos, which means you can go all the way up to 1,000 calorie deficit a week. So basically you got from 200 calories up to 1,000 calories. That's an 800 calorie range. Some days you're going to be flat out with work. You're not going to be hungry, especially most likely at the start of your diet. Not as hungry, flat out with work, got energy, all that stuff. Maybe you push the deficit a little bit harder at the start just because you're not hungry. So you're more around that 700 to 900 calorie mark. Monday, 700 calories. Tuesday, 500 calories. Wednesday, 800 calories. Thursday, 700 calories. It adds up, right? Are you going to lose weight that week? Yes. How much are you going to lose? Who fuck knows? Who knows? But guess what? You're in a big enough deficit to lose, right? So that's fine. And now you've got the freedom, because again, some days you'll be hungry. Females on their menstrual cycle, you get hungry around certain times of your period. If you're in a deficit, maybe you make that deficit a little bit smaller, or God forbid, you make it a maintenance week, right? Or maybe some of you actually don't get that hungry, so you might actually create a bigger deficit during that time. Again, maybe there are periods of work where you're flat out and you haven't eaten all day, and you get home and you're like, oh, fuck, I just need to have one meal. I'm still going to be in a massive deficit. Fantastic. Like, this is what you want to get to, because people get this fail or success. Like, oh, I wasn't in my deficit. Like, okay, so your maintenance is 2,500. I want you eating 2,000 calories. Okay. Fuck, man, I ate 2,100 calories today, or I ate 2,200 calories. Little do people realize, well, hang on, you're still in a 300 calorie deficit, firstly, which is still a deficit. So that's a win. That's not a pass or a fail at all. And again, it gives you more freedom based on your hunger. If you're like, oh, well, I'm hungry today, you can eat more food. If you're not as hungry, you can eat less food. That's freedom. That creates actually a lot of freedom for people, because then you get choice. You might be wondering, oh, well, how am I supposed to, meal prep for that? What am I supposed to do? Well, pick a number that you'd roughly like to calorie deficit at. If you're like, all right, well, I'll start with a 500 calorie deficit, cool. Start there, 400 calorie deficit, whatever it is, because like your meal prep around that, but you can always adjust. You can add a little bit more or take away a little bit less. Oh, you skip your snack because you're busy at work. That's probably 200 calories right there, extra you save for the day. Done. Or maybe you don't snack and you're really hungry at 3 p.m. It's been a few weeks in a deficit, but now 3 p.m. comes around and you're starving. All right, so instead of being in a 700 calorie deficit, you're now in a 300 calorie deficit because you add 400 calories into your day. You got the freedom there. That's what we want. We want flexibility, man. Like, Having that flexibility, there's no pass or fail. There's no success. There's no you did good or you did bad. It's like at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I should say, sorry, you're going to be in somewhat of a deficit. And now, while that's not going to reflect exactly on the scale, because who gives a fuck what the scale says anyways, if you're in a deficit, you're going to lose. You know that, right? Some days it might be a big, some weeks might be a bigger drop, other weeks might be a smaller drop. Who gives a shit? I know you do because you think things need to go faster, but change the fucking mindset. And guess what? You're going to be way more adherent for the next 12 to 16 weeks of dieting versus thinking you have one deficit, you have one, every day you got to eat that same type of thing. It's like, fuck me dead. Why? Why do we have to do this? Because you think you need all this restriction, but yet then when you don't stay to what you need to, you think you need all this rigidity, yet when you don't stick to it, you get a fail, like a mental fail, and then you get upset at yourself, and then you throw yourself off track. So it's like, give yourself a wider range. Set yourself up. Protein, next thing. So we talked about calorie range. Protein, what do I keep saying? 1.6 to 2.2, all right? Here's the thing with protein. If you can't get 2 grams per kilo, there's a reason I'm telling you guys to eat 1.6 grams of protein, because that's going to be a good enough number. 1.6 is protein. You're like, oh, that's low, Tice. Yeah, good. So then you should be able to hit it, no worries. There shouldn't be an issue for you to hit protein at 1.6 grams per kilo. It actually should be fucking no issue at all for most people, because if you're 60 kilos, that's like 100 grams, right? That's not a lot at all, to be honest. That's like, basically 30 grams a meal, which is quite easy to get. So that's what you want to aim for. And then if you can eat more protein, you get more protein. And if you get more than 2.2 grams, whatever, get more than 2.2 grams. As long as you're not going like ridiculously high and cutting out all your other macronutrients, it's not going to fucking make or break anything, okay? We get so caught up in the nuances that don't fucking matter. Because here's the thing, it's funny, the people who like track calories and they think they have to have all these things, or like, what if I do this, or what if I don't do this? Oh, hey, I missed this today. What do you reckon about this? Like, hey, I missed my protein yesterday. What's going to happen? Nothing. It's one fucking day. Hey, I missed my protein for a week. Well, then maybe, possibly, you lost a slight bit of muscle while dieting. These things are not the end of the world. These things are not absolutes. We really have to fucking breathe a little bit. There are people there who do the 800 fast, all right? What are you going to say? Oh, man, fuck. Those people are just going to be losing muscle left, right, and center. Like, yeah, they might lose some muscle. But it's like these people are still losing weight regardless. They're not giving a fuck about macros. Like, there's no point focusing on macros if you're eating 800 calories a day. Now, again, I don't recommend that shit because it's dumb, in my opinion, because that's a ridiculous restriction. But what I'm saying is, like, there are people doing that. There are people doing keto. There are people doing intermittent fasting. And we just get so caught up in these intricacies where it's like, oh, well, if you did intermittent fasting, you lost instead of losing 6 kilos of just all fat, you lost 5.8 kilos of all fat and 200 grams of muscle. And it's like, much to a fucking muchness, really. Like, not a lot. And you'll gain that back when you go to maintenance anyway. It's like, if anyone ever gets concerned about losing muscle mass when you're dieting, just remember this. When you start to train, I don't want to say train again. When you go back to maintenance calories and you're still training, you will regain the muscle you have lost, all right? Just so you know that. Now, ideally, we do not want to just be like, oh, fuck it then. I'm just going to not worry about protein, because we want to maintain a fair bit of muscle. Like, ideally, as much as we can. But if for whatever the fuck reason happens that we might lose a little bit, it's going to come back, okay? Again, there's no absolutes. We really need to get out of this mentality of like, it's this or nothing, because it's not. It's like a spectrum, it's that, what am I trying to think about here? It's kind of like a bell curve, it goes up, 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 and then down. And funnily enough, with the bell curve, it's like, you have optimal, which is the middle. But then we have a range before that where we can get like most of the results. But then if you go too much on the optimal side of things, you start obsessing, it has negative effects because it fucking mentally ruins you, which you don't want to do, okay? So with the protein, 1.6 to 2.2 grams. Don't worry about trying to spread it out evenly. Don't worry about trying to have a pre and post workout. Don't worry about any of that shit until you get enough protein in. Again, I want to keep repeating these things on the podcast, and I sound like a broken record, but it needs to get through to people's head. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I keep repeating it, but then guess what? Most people still don't seem to comprehend this. Because unfortunately, there's so much fucking stupid information out there on Instagram with dickhead fitfluencers teaching their neurotic tendencies to other people when it's like, okay, well, hang on here. Again, you are a 20-something-year-old. I'm going to describe myself, basically, because I fit this criteria quite well, except I'm not teaching fucking dumb things, all right? You're a 20-something-year-old. You're not married. You might have a partner or you might be single. You have an animal as a pet, not a human as a pet. Not a human as a child, I guess you would say. You have an animal child, not a human child. You don't own a house, okay? You work from home. You work as a coach, so you have more free time. You actually enjoy going to the gym and fitness because this is why you're in this industry. And you want to, basically achieve what you can, the best you can, because this is what you want to focus your attention on. Okay, so you're going to then push that onto normal people. People who have full-time jobs, people who may be single parents, people who have kids, people who are overworked, people who are sleep deprived, people who can only go to the gym a few times a week, people who don't have time to fucking track every single macro, people who do not want to step on stage, people who just want to be overall healthier and fitter, people who want to look good with their shirt off but not be fucking ridiculously low percentage of body fat, people who are just sick and tired of just being, going upstairs and feeling exhausted and want to just feel a little bit better, Like, this is where the breakdown happens because these people, these coaches, do not know how to talk to normal people, right? Because they haven't lived that lifestyle, right? Now, thankfully for me, I've somewhat lived a work lifestyle, I guess you'd say, before I became PT when I was younger. But also, I just I don't know, this blows my mind a little bit. I just seem to, maybe it's because I'm more extroverted, I understand people's lifestyle. I can see, because I guess I've worked with so many people that I understand what their life looks like and that their life is nothing like mine. I don't think, oh well, they should be able to do it, I can do it. How does that come into your brain to be like, well, if I can do it, they can? It's like, well, fuck, man, we're not even the same league here. We're doing something completely different. Here's me complaining about my fucking cat spewing on the carpet. And I'm like, God damn, my day, fuck's sake. I'm cracking a tantrum. I'm like, this fucking cat, man, is going to be the bane of my existence. Fucking spews on the carpet. It takes me 5 minutes to clean up. Meanwhile, unfortunately, a single parent is dealing with their screaming child every night because it's going through a teething issue and they can't sleep. And I'm like, well, why can't you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go and do your steps before you start the day? Why can't you go to the gym every fucking morning? That would not even come into my head to make a client want to do that. Or to think a client should do that, sorry, I should say. Because I'm like, we're not even fucking, it's two completely different lifestyles. So don't get caught up in these people recommending these things that aren't going to apply to you at all. And you've also got to take that into context too. Into context. The things they teach, you have to ask, is this worth worrying about for me to get results? Because again, I'm telling you guys, protein and calorie range is all you need to worry about. And then fruits and veggies, ideally, Get 1 to 5 servings of veggies. Ideally get close to the 5 servings. Get 1 to 3 servings of fruit. That's it, okay? 4 things: calorie range, protein range, fruits and veggies. That's all I want you to focus on. Is it really that easy? It fucking is that easy, okay? Well, then you think about, that is way easy to tick off versus our fat goal, our carb goal, eating within those 5 grams of eating post-workout, eating pre-workout, eating this, timing your meals, waking up and doing fasted cardio, high days and low days, all these things. It's well, guess what? You don't have to fucking worry about any of that shit. And you're going to get results. You have 4 things to tick off every day. Mate, let's say 5, your steps too. 5 things to tick off. 5 is a lot easier than fucking 20. A lot easier to do. And funnily enough, again, you're like, what do I do with the rest of my calories? Here's the thing. You eat plenty of protein, fruits and veggies. Then guess what? You got a little bit of freedom to have some shit in your life, to have some food in your life. Food that you probably think you shouldn't be having, but you can because you have the calories for it. And then, guess what? Oh, I can have that and still lose weight. Yeah, you can. Can you have everything? No. Can you have some things? Absolutely. Can you get shit-faced every weekend? No. Can you go and binge eat Maccas every day? No. Can you do some things? Yes. That's what I want you to do. And funnily enough, when you have that freedom, when you realize you have to focus on less, it just becomes easier because it's less effortful. And you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, did I eat my protein? Yes. Did I eat my fruits and veggies? Yes. Am I still in a deficit? Yeah. Whoa. Okay. That's it. That's it. Like, it's really that simple, hey. And I want you guys to get into this good enough mentality because, like, once you start to show yourself that you can get away with good enough, you just realize how less stressful things are. Like, for me, when I start, like, it was so hard for me to go from tracking everything exactly to the gram. Like, I had fucking major anxiety thinking that I didn't have to be as obsessive. And just like showing myself, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take measurements every day. I'm gonna make sure that, like, I'm not gonna gain fat. Every day, weighed myself on the scale. Every day, took measurements. And funnily enough, surprise, surprise, after a few weeks, when my measurements were the same, when my body weight was roughly the same, like I didn't look any physically different, and I was doing less, it was like I was teaching myself that it's okay, because I'm very, again, like, logical, numbers, all that type of stuff driven. So I had to use that to teach myself that it was okay, right? By doing less. And then I was like, it was a weird moment because I was kind of upset that I got so stuck in things for so long and created my own internal stress that never even had to be there because I thought I had to be perfect. When I'm like, and like, why? Why did I have to be perfect? Because again, I never wanted to be a bodybuilder. I never wanted to step on stage. I never wanted to like compete with any of that stuff. I just wanted to fucking look good with my shirt off and, just feel good about myself. So why did I need to be that obsessive? I didn't. And I was kind of annoyed, and I'm like, man, all this fucking time, these years of having a bad relationship with food, thinking about things I had to do when I didn't have to, and I'm like, fuck. But look, it happened. At the end of the day, I was kind of glad that I taught myself that, and more importantly, I am very glad that I actually went through it because I get to teach it to you guys, And now I'm sitting here telling you what I did to relax, to put myself in a better place, to get more results. Not more results, just to, yeah, I guess you should say get more results. To get results and keep getting results, and again, make this a part of my lifestyle that's actually enjoyable. Because I don't know about you, but if you're someone right now who's tracking every macro to the gram, or you're obsessing about things, you think about yourself in 40 years. What are you going to do 40 years from now, right? For me, I'm going to be, what am I going to be? 68, okay? Fuck, mate. If someone's like, oh yeah, 68, you're still going to be tracking my macros, I'll be like, what? Why the fuck would I want to be doing that? Like, imagine 40 years from now. No one's going to give a fuck about my 68-year-old ass. No one's going to be like, oh, look at that fucking, bro, look at him. I bet you he tracks his macros. No one gives a fuck, man. So it's like, I can do this for the next 48 years. Did I say 48 years? 40 years. I can do this for the next 40 years. I can eat protein every day. Like, I definitely know I'll eat protein every day. And fruits and veggies. Because it's just my health. Like, that's what it is. It's not fucking hard. It's not rocket science. It's just like for my overall health. It's pretty sustainable. And for you want to get to a place where you're doing the same thing. When you're at maintenance, when you finish your dieting, you're no longer tracking your food. You're eating your protein. You're eating your fruits. You're eating your veggies. I can't even say the word. You're eating your veggies. And that's just a part of life. Like, it becomes instinctual. But guess what? Those simple things that add to your health is all that matters. Because when you're healthier, you're going to be fitter. When you're fitter, you're going to look better. All right? Anyone who eats well relatively looks well. All right? Like, are there people who eat shit and look well? Yes. Okay? But if anyone's eating like a good diet, no one's coming out and being like, I got obese eating fruits, veggies, and protein. I can't control my weight because I'm eating fruits, veggies, and protein. It doesn't happen. Because well, if you eat too many veggies and fruit, you're going to be fucking chock-a-block full of fiber. So that's not going to be a good time. You eat too much protein, well then yeah, maybe eating over 3 grams, you could be causing some issues for your kidneys. All right? If you're eating over 3 grams every day, don't get caught up in this mentality. If you have one day where you go 3 grams per kilogram, don't fucking stress. All right? Jesus, I'm just trying to make a point here. No one's doing that. No one's like, I had too many potatoes and that's what caused my obesity. I had too many bananas and that's what caused my obesity. All that sugar from fruit, that's what caused me to have diabetes. No, right? It's never that. And again, no one's like, oh man, once I started eating bananas and protein, imagine that, just bananas and protein. Once I started eating my fruits and veggies and protein, I couldn't stop my weight. It's not that. It's never that. No one's complaining about, oh, I'm eating too much protein, fruits and veggies, and that's why I can't stop. No, it's always the good stuff. It's the high calorie, tasty stuff that we like that causes the issues. So if you focus on good habits, you're going to look good, all right? And it's like, just focus on less. And I know it sounds so simple, but it is simple. It's just not easy to do because you think you have to do all these other things. And it's like, you have to retrain yourself that you don't. And it takes a long time to retrain yourself to do it, right? And of the Good Enough Guide, you guys can click on the link below, get the Good Enough Guide, follow that. Just put it into practice because I write all the things that you need to focus on and how to exactly do it. And I even tell people, do this for 2 weeks, then do this, right? And people get results because they follow exactly what I tell them to do. Because sometimes you can't do it for yourself, right? You can tell yourself you want to do it, but you might need that little bit of external accountability. Which is why, even though I had the coaching, I made the book. Because then you're like, all right, this guy, I'm paying money for this book. This guy's telling me what I need to do, and I'm just going to go and do it. So if you need something to tell you what to do and exactly what to do it, then get the book. Otherwise, just do exactly what I say here. A calorie range, protein, fruits and veggies. Get your steps in. Did I miss anything there? Calorie range, protein, fruits, veggies. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah. Like, that's it. Give yourself the extra freedom. Stop getting caught up in what all these other fucking idiots talk about. Because I'm telling you right now, for you to look good the way you want to look, not to step on stage, not to fucking, be the most amazing rig out there. For you to look good, to feel confident with your shirt off, to feel good about yourself, you don't have to obsess over all these little things. I'm telling you that right now. Okay? And again, it's a double-edged sword. Once you start learning about nutrition, it can suck you in and put you in the wrong headspace. But you can also use that knowledge to your advantage. Like I just talked about, you know what's in food, you know what foods are high in protein. I'm assuming everyone knows what fruits and veggies are either. But you know about those important things that are going to matter, and the rest of the stuff, you don't fucking stress about it. Because it makes life a whole lot easier. So, if that was helpful, I would love for you guys to share this podcast. If you have followed the Good Enough stuff, whether you have the guide, whether you listen to what I've talked about, and you've gotten benefits, just message me. I just want to hear from people that have actually put it into place. Because when people message me, this chick messaged me the other day, she's like, hey, just want to say I really, really appreciate all the free advice you give. Like, it's made my weight loss so easy off following the Good Enough Guide. And I was like, oh my God, like, it makes me so happy because people are like, wow, I can do less and get more results. And it's like, isn't that what we all want? Do we not want to do the least amount to get the most results? To get the best results, I guess you could say. So if you have, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, guys, I do appreciate you, as always, listening. And I'll speak to you in the next episode.